And all of a sudden I did this great shidduch, this unbelievably good shidduch with the richest guy in town. And I always felt guilty, but life goes on. And at the point that I'm about to become engaged, I was engaged, we're waiting for the wedding, and I get married, and I live a fairy tale life, and I was going to live happily ever after. But happily ever after is also limited to the end of the story, end of the movie. The story doesn't go on forever. Suddenly he developed a terrible skin disease, and there was a terrible odor emanating from him, and his skin began to peel horribly. And his father-in-law went and he hired the best doctors and the best everything to try to heal him. And it wasn't happening. And at one point they tried surgery and they tried peeling his skin, it wasn't happening. And it got to a point where they couldn't even keep him in the house anymore. So they moved him to the Hegdish. That was like the public place. And nobody wanted to be next to him. And he was in terrible pain. And he would yelp and scream in Yisurim from morning to night, tossing from place to place. He says, I can't take it anymore. He says, I'm finished, I'm gone, I'm done for. And his father-in-law came to him and he said, listen, I need you to divorce my daughter. There's no hope for you and she can't live like this. So I had no choice. I gave her a divorce. Now I was left with nothing. Totally nothing. I was laying there in the Hegdish, I would have starved to death. So Yidden always look for an opportunity. And someone came by, he said, a great idea. I'm starting a special organization for the Novel and Mukashchins, for people that are full of tzaras. It's going to be, we're coming out full spread in the Ahmadiyya tomorrow. We're going to have a website and everything. And we're going to make we're going to have it all. We're going to have pictures of you in the paper. It's going to be great. We're going to have some on the envelope, there'll be a little snapshot of you. And I'm going to start a whole organization. He says, I want you to go onto the wagon. We're going to go from town to town. And I'm going to say, I have a great Talmud Chacham who's suffering. You're going to get up there. Everyone's going to go, ugh, oy, nebuch. And you're going to give a shear. They're going to see what a Talmud Chacham you are. And they're going to have Rahmanas on you. I'll take a 30% cut. And they'll give you the money. They'll move to the next town. He says, why do we have to keep moving from town to town? He says, the first time they see you, they'll really be disgusted, The first time people see you, they're disgusted. The second time, they get used to it. We got to act on disgust and nausea, and that's how you make money. He had it all down to a science. So he puts them on the wagon, and he moves them from town to town, and they're doing a pretty good business. I got to tell you, it's really working out very, very well. It's really getting there. They have pushkas going out, and they have pictures of him all over, and there's a Chinese auction, there's a dinner, it's a grand idea. And at one point, the guy says, listen, I made enough money. I can retire my kids now. He says, you're on your own. He says, I'm on my own. I can't move. I'm in pain. I'm in this wagon. He says, hire a driver. What should I do for you? I'm leaving. And then the guy begins to cry. He says, listen, you were in the Hegdish. You also thought you finished. You'll manage. And from a distance, he sees a guy crying on a wagon. And this guy's crying. He says, my daughter is suffering terribly. She has this tzaras. And it's a borrowed wagon. I have to return it now. So he comes over, he says, listen, maybe we could, make a connection over here. Calls the guy over and he says to him, he says, listen, I'm on this wagon, I don't have a driver. And you have to give back the wagon. He says, and I'm suffering from the same thing your daughter is suffering. Maybe we can do this together. So they moved him onto the front of the wagon, and they moved his daughter to the back of the wagon. Now they have a whole team, a whole organization of, and they're going from town to town, they're doing the same thing. They're doing this for a while. After a while, the guy says, this is ridiculous. He says, why don't we just do a shidduch between you and my daughter? I mean, after all, you do have something in common, right? So they actually get married. There was a tiny marriage and a little chutzner of the Hegdish and whatever leftover cake from a Yartzeit Kiddush they brought over there. And she's crying uncontrollably. And he's asking her, why are you crying? And she says, I think back on my life and who I could have been a chassan to and how the marriage broke up. And she says, who could you have been a chassan to? And it turns out, it's a small world. Guess who this was? This was his first Kala, who was now beyond recognition. He was the guy. And he said, miraculously, sooner or later, we were both kind of healed. And they invested all of this money, and they were really doing a great business, and I built up. He said, there's no doubt in my mind that this was a tfi on me in Shemayim, that I was upset. My father lost his money, so what? I should have stayed with her anyway. As much as she said she's Michael, who says that she was really Michael? And basically, now that I'm rich and I have my wife and we have daughters and sons, that's why I treat her the way I treat her. Because I want to be masakin on the pagam that I did. And that's Sukkot. Sukkot, as the Gra, is the chuppah. But the chuppah is not a kintz the first time around. When the world is yours, as we've often said, kid gets bar mitzvah, where's your name? Right? Smack in the middle of the invitation. The world is yours, right? You get the bar mitzvah is basically easy. You got to buy a Borsalino hat. You tilt it this way, that way. That's it. Then you got to get married. That's much harder, right? The shidduchim and everything till you get ups and downs. Finally, you're married, and where's your name? It's, you're not all alone on the invitation. You're together with someone else, right? And then when you have to marry, you have kids. Just wait till you get there. And then you have the chayvus that you have and the money, right? They say in Yerushalayim, when you hear an ambulance, it's always one of two simchas. Either someone just became a kala, as the father will realize now he has to buy a dira, or someone had a baby, Animals always say, someone faints. But where's your name? Your name's all the way at the bottom of the invitation. And if you get to be a grandfather that marries off a kid, so what happens? They throw you on the other side of the invitation. The gam anu mitzaref, somebody once said to me, I had my first grandchild, oh, you're a gam anu already. So the story of this life is that it doesn't. The first time around is easy, but when you have to endure the ups, and that's really the makar of what Sukkot really is. The makar of Sukkot is on all three terutzim are one teretz. Why don't we have Sukkot during Pesach time? Number one, because we're not on vacation. That's not the purpose of this world. It's not the tafkid of this world. And number two, because if chas v'shalom we blow it, God, you want me in the sukkah, I'm in the sukkah. Wherever you send me. If you don't give me an opportunity to be a sukkah, I'm not there. And the third reason is because this is the second time around. This is when the Anani HaKavod comes back. And if we have the kaiches within us to jump back and to say things are not working out the way I want, but Rabbi Shalom, give me back the Anani HaKavod, let me do tshuva. I blew Rosh Hashanah, I blew Yom Kippur, but I'm ready even after a Chet Egel to jump into a sukkah with the Anani HaKavod. That is the true sustainable sukkahs that leads to Ashiros and Brachos, and the Yiddish should be this man Simchaseinu for the entire year.
Amen.